Okay, so hello, Craig. Welcome to Pipeline Summit.
Awesome. Great to be here.
Good to have you here. So, today we're going to be talking about kind of the transformation of the marketing funnel. There's this old marketing funnel that, as marketers, we've been following for 15 plus years, and now AI has hit us and it's all changing. So, want to get your perspective on kind of where it's all going.
Excited. Like, this is the most exciting time in B2B marketing, and we're about to explain why. So let's jump into it.
Okay, sweet. So, I think before we look forward, let's take a look back. Let's talk about kind of the old B2B marketing playbook. What have we been doing as marketers for a long time?
It all started with the rise of digital marketing, which was in like the 2000s, right? So when digital marketing came about, everything that we started doing was obviously online, digital. So we did search marketing, we did display advertising, we were doing email campaigns, then boom, social media came along, and like on and on and on, referral sites, G2, right? You can think about it like every single click on those campaigns, it all drove traffic to our website. And then we started doing things that were like traditional media, like radio or TV commercials or billboards. And we're like, just go to our website to learn more about what we do. And so what happened was like, boom, the website became like the centerpiece of the B2B marketing universe. And we're like, we're generating all this demand. We're running these campaigns. We're spending all this money. What do we do? Well, marketing automation came along and we're like, just put forms on the website, slap some forms on the website, capture some leads, and then we'll follow up with those leads. And then shortly after that, people are like, well, that's too slow. So let's do some live chat, right? Let's collect leads and try to actually meet people in the moment. So the results of this is tons of traffic to the website, conversion on the website, but not conversion to pipeline, conversion to leads. And so that was kind of it. We used our website to capture leads, but not all of them were great, right? Not all of them were qualified. So we had a bunch of, every single company is different. Every single company has something that they call an ICP, or they have some variation of that, ideal customer profile, which basically means who do you sell to? So if you get a lead that is outside of the United States and you only sell your product to companies in the US, like that's no, like you have to exclude that, right? If you only sell to enterprises and then like an SMB comes to your website and says like, I want a demo, like you got to exclude that. So exclude all the ones that don't meet your ICP. The rest of those, let's call them just qualified leads, for example. And those are the ones that your marketing organization generated. And so now the question is like, what do you do, right?
hmm So, marketers, we were doing all of this stuff, we're capturing all these leads. And then the question is, who works these leads? Who is it? Sales? Is it marketing? Who's the person responsible for getting them into pipeline? So, how did we think about that?
Who works the leads, right? That is the question. I remember sitting around in the 2000s, inventing kind of this digital marketing model. And it was a question, who works the leads? Well, initially the marketing org was like, well, let's have the sales team work the leads. Like we're generating these leads for them. And then they were like, I don't know. Some of these leads are not yet like totally qualified. They don't have budget. They don't have authority. I don't really know about this one, but it's a waste of my time. I'm off working deals. I'm an account executive. Like somebody else should do this. So boom, pass it back to the marketing organization. So the marketing organization, should they be the ones who work these leads and schedule the meetings for account executives? I don't know. They have a specialized skill set running campaigns, doing Google AdWords, being creative. Like, I don't think that's actually the best team either. Maybe the answer is that we should hire a new team of people. Let's hire like entry level folks, like right out of college, because let's be honest, this job is not rocket science. You have to converse with people on a website via live chat. You have to schedule meetings for account executives. You have to write some emails and you have to do it all with some personality, but it's not rocket science. And so we're like, let's hire kids at like $60,000 to $80,000 per year in the US, and let's create an SDR team. And based on our lead volume, that determined how many people we would need to hire. So as it turned out, a human SDR could work like 250 on average leads per month with quality. So take how many ICP leads you get, divide that by 250, and that's kind of the size of the team that you ideally would have. But as it turns out, most companies couldn't actually afford to hire that size of team. So they ended up with a team of a random size and they wanted to work the highest quality leads. And hence the SDR sales development rep team was born.
Okay, and when you talk about high quality leads, I think you're referring to MQLs. There's this phrase, MQL, it's essentially synonymous with SDRs. Why did we create this MQL acronym that is so broadly used by marketers?
MQL. Every single marketing organization started saying this word, MQL, MQL, MQL. Why? Why did we actually invent the MQL? Well, we were paying these SDRs money, right? So we had to like spend money to hire them. We needed the best ROI on that investment possible. So we needed them to generate as much pipeline as possible. So we couldn't afford to actually hire reams of SDRs to work on like every single lead. We said, which are the ones that are the most sales ready? Which are the ones that have the highest propensity to buy? So every marketing and SDR team got in a room and they on a whiteboard, they started drawing, okay, well, what are the best leads? Well, typically that's like live chat was typically number one. The 1-800 hotline, like that used to be number two, but nobody really calls a 1-800 number anymore. Then it was the forms on my website, like the contact sales form, request a demo form, free trial form. And then there was like a big gap at some point when you're like, I don't know, I think that's it. And then maybe it was like owned events. If your company actually runs events, those would be good ones. But if you sponsor events, I don't know. That's why SDR teams routinely never want to follow up with sponsored event leads. And at some point you drew a line, every team did this and they said, at our company, this is the definition of an MQL. That became the contract between SDR teams and marketing teams. And boom, that's the world we've been living in for like 10 to 15 years. Marketing, demand gen leaders, marketing VPs, CMOs run campaigns. They generate leads. SDR teams work a subset of those leads that are the highest quality, the MQLs. And what they do is they try to get those buyers on the hook to take a meeting with their account executive, and boom, that's pipeline.
And so what you just outlined is really the traditional marketing funnel, which is top to bottom, ICP leads, SDRs work MQLs. They flip that over to the AEs. This is something we've been following for a long time. You were the CMO at Salesforce, and this is the funnel that existed then, and it still exists today.
Yes, that by the way, that was like 10 to 15 years ago.
Yeah,
So
which is crazy. That's a long time in tech.
The fact that we were doing this 10 to 15 years ago, and basically to this day, you have CMOs and VPs of marketing with an MQL dashboard. By the way, if you're out there in the audience, raise your hand if you have an MQL dashboard that you report on. Raise your hand if you actually go into your marketing leadership meeting and you say the word MQL. Like it just shows how long we've been kind of stuck in this traditional marketing funnel.
And so I think as we talk about these MQLs that are handed over to SDRs, how did they work these MQLs? What did kind of a day in the life of an inbound SDR look like?
Yeah, so we're talking here about an inbound SDR working MQLs. They typically did two things. First, they tried to meet them in the moment. The fastest possible way, actually, the best channel was live chat. If you can get somebody who's interested in the moment when they're there on your website, engaged in a conversation, answer some of their questions, maybe kind of probe a little bit, do some basic qualification questions, and then you can book a meeting for your AE right there. Like that's number one, hands down, the best. Then number two is all those leads that we collected on our website or maybe on third-party websites or event registrations, whatever is your definition of an MQL, you have to follow up with those leads. That happens over email. So what do they typically do? They sit in like an app, a console doing live chat, and they sit in another console, which is like a queue of leads, and they work those leads by like sending them emails, trying to book meetings.
And then does that happen quickly or not?
Well,
I think
that's
right?
the
question.
That's the question.
Yeah.
Like there's this age-old saying in our industry, which is speed to lead. Everyone knows it. There's been a billion research reports that say the faster that you can get engaged with a qualified buyer who's expressing interest, the faster you are to generate pipeline. 78% of buyers end up buying from the vendor that responds to them first. They can influence them first. They can have a conversation with them first. Speed to lead, like there are so many statistics, speed to lead works, but it's darn near impossible. Like if you think about live chat for a second on a website, it's like darn near impossible for a team of human SDRs, even a big team, but like, let's talk even about like 5 or 10 person team. It's impossible because they're not there in the moment. They don't work 24/7. So nobody reports on IRT at midnight, right? We conveniently like don't report on that. And then they miss conversations because they're working on another app or something. And then something comes through and like, oh, I missed it. It was like the telephone rang and they forgot to pick it up. When they get engaged with a buyer, they don't know the answers to the questions. Like these are folks right out of school who are like 6 months on the job. How could they answer the product questions? How can they position my company? How could they possibly be trained in 6 months to do that? It is impossible. And then they can't multitask. No human can multitask. I can't be working on like 2 things at the same time. What if I have to be having 2 conversations or 3 at the same time? No human can actually do that. So tons of stuff just goes unanswered. Tons of stuff slips through the cracks. And it gets even worse when you're talking about email follow-up. Like imagine somebody comes and they fill out a form. It says like contact sales, for example. Then they leave the website. Well, they're waiting to talk to the sales organization. What has to happen? What has to happen? The, the lead has to sync over somewhere, and then maybe an SDR is busy or they're out to lunch or they're working on something else. They're working on another lead. Well, they can't look at that lead. So they wait for like hours typically, and then they have to pull a template. Then they have to personalize the template. To personalize it, you have to like know something about the person. You have to know something about the company. All that takes so much time. It takes hours. The best companies, the best enterprise software companies in the world can do all that in 90 minutes. On average, it takes 6 hours. The worst companies, it takes 6 days. So this is why marketers still report on MQLs. Like, because this process, this human-centric process around working qualified leads is so fraught with trouble because of its human nature, this is why marketers still report on MQLs, because it's the only thing they can control. After it leaves their world and goes over into an SDR's queue, they no longer control it. And so they don't want to feel responsible for like what happens over in that world. So they still report on MQLs.
Well, and even if the SDR team reports into marketing, which let's say it's, 40% of the time, 60% of the time it rolls up into sales, there's that anxiety that marketing leaders feel of like, what's happening once I'm getting these people to our site, I'm creating brand awareness, I'm driving these campaigns. Are they getting worked properly? Like, that's what keeps me up at night. And we have a great SDR team, but you don't have that visibility always into what's happening or the confidence that people are getting worked properly.
It keeps every marketing leader up at night. And in fact, when I was formerly a CMO, I would commonly leave the building, walk over to the other floor, where the SDR sat just to see, like, did they show up to work
I bet
today?
I bet they loved that.
Yes, yeah,
That's
sure. They
not-
loved it. They loved it. Right. I just needed to see that like these leads were being worked and by whom and how quickly. And so it's like, there's a lack of trust. And that's why marketers still report on MQLs. And like the dream would be that we could bring that back in-house somehow to marketing, but there's never before been a technology that's made that possible.
And I think everything you're outlining, it's this lose, lose, lose. It's like the marketers are losing because their leads aren't getting serviced like immediately as they should be. The SDRs, they're put in a tough position. They only have, so many hands. They can only work like so many leads at once. And then the buyer loses because they're having this bad experience from a brand that they're raising their hand and they want to engage with. So it's like nobody wins with this old process. And then, so let's fast forward to today. It's end of 2024. We're doing our 2025 planning. The question is there a better way now that AI is here? How is this funnel going to transform with the emergence of AI and now that it's at our fingertips? So how do you think about that?
So obviously 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago today, ChatGPT became the fastest growing app in the history of apps. And when you think about that world, like on that day, you had to ask the question, what does the future look like? What does the future of this marketing funnel look like? What if everything was automated and AI was doing the work? What would that look like? Like, how could it transform our organization? And AI SDRs have emerged. And now it's important to note that what we're talking about here today, we're talking about the marketing funnel. So we're talking about the inbound processes for working inbound leads. Most people call those SDRs. We are not talking about outbound prospecting here. We're talking about the marketing funnel, which is working inbound leads. Like for that, an AI SDR is here. It's here today. They work 24/7. They learn and learn and learn. They never leave your organization and they scale infinitely. It's actually like for the first time, there's a dream SDR team and it's called the AI SDR team.
And so I think one question everybody has, because we're out there talking about this often, is does this mean human SDRs go away? What happens to that function and to that team?
Over time, yes, of course. Is the answer to that today 100% no? It's not, because the average tenure of a human SDR is something like what, 9 months, 12
Yeah,
months,
maybe a
like
year.
18 months, like at the most. And so people move out of this role. They get promoted into sales organizations. They decide sales and marketing are not for them. And so what's going to happen over time is that an AI SDR gets introduced, learns and learns and learns and scales. And as people get promoted or move on, CMOs and VPs of marketing will naturally go, do I need to hire another one? Or can I just do this with my AI?
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so we've kind of laid out this traditional funnel where a team of human SDRs is at the center of it all. What does the new AI marketing funnel look like with the introduction of AI SDRs? How do you see the world there?
Well, it's really simple. The MQL dies, right? The MQL is dead because you don't need an MQL if you don't have teams of human SDRs working on these leads. Insert an AI SDR, and the AI SDR can work every single ICP lead, and she can do that infinitely, and she can do it at scale, and she can do it more intelligently with higher quality than any team of human SDRs could possibly do. The future state is the marketing funnel kind of on the right-hand side of this graphic, which is the new AI marketing funnel. The transition time, it could take a company like a couple quarters. It could take a company a year to transition from the traditional model to the new AI model, but it's just so much simpler. It's so much cleaner. There's so much more quality, and it is the funnel that the marketing team and the CMO, a person like yourself, can actually trust. Because like an AI SDR, like what can she do? The things you used to worry about the SDR team not doing is she never needs to sleep. She can work 24/7. She never misses an opportunity to have a conversation with somebody. She has all the answers at her fingertips. She can position with absolute skill. She can accomplish goals. She can schedule meetings. She can route visitors. She can do so much, and she can multitask. She can work on 10 things at the same time. You have a scaling problem, like you no longer have a scaling problem now with an AI SDR. That's just on your website. And when you're talking about following up with inbound leads via email, if somebody fills out a form, 5 minutes is the magical time, the 5 minute rule. We all know this. If you're able to respond in 5 minutes, you're 20 times more likely to generate pipeline with that potential buyer. Well, how come our average response time then is 6 hours? How come the best of the best companies can only do it in 90 minutes? Well, Piper or an AI SDR like her can do it in like 2 minutes. Fully personalized, fully personalized, better than any human can do because an AI SDR has all the data at her fingertips. And the best thing about an AI SDR is that you ever experience in your career, one of your human SDRs is like doing live chat, another one is over here like sending email, and like this one doesn't know what that one is doing. And then somebody like clicks through an email and they end up back on the website and the person treats them like they don't know who they are. It's like those misconnections. A buyer notices them, but your human SDR team could have no idea. But an AI SDR can know it all. It's like you can zoom out, and this AI SDR can be all knowing about every interaction with every single inbound lead. Like, talk about like the dream for a CMO and a VP of marketing. The dream is all of these leads get worked with absolute quality and nothing falls through the cracks.
So you're talking about quality, they're so knowledgeable, speed, you don't have that speed to lead issue that you used to have, and then scale. You can work all ICP leads, not just MQLs one at a time. Going back to the quality point, I think one question everybody has is like, okay, yeah, the promise is great. I love the idea. I love the idea of an AI SDR. Will it work? Will it work as well as my best human? What's your take on that? What if AI says the wrong thing? What if they don't operate as well as you'd expect one of your humans to do?
I think 9 months ago, at the beginning of 2024, I think we all were skeptical. Like, are they going to work? I don't know. But we're sitting here doing 2025 planning. A year has passed, and 100% they do work, and they're getting better faster than you can possibly believe. We're going to be here in 2 years, and we're not even going to be having a debate about whether these work. We're already seeing hundreds of companies adopt AI SDRs, and for the marketing funnel, the results, like we're seeing the results because they work around the clock. They're like, they just do things that are so much better. We used to worry about them saying the wrong thing. I actually worry about my SDR, human SDR, saying the wrong thing 10 times more than I worry about an AI SDR.
Mhm. I think I can attest to that. When we first turned an AI SDR Piper on our website, I was nervous. How is she gonna interact? Is she gonna, like, really hold our brand up as well as it should be? And I've been super impressed just because they are all-knowing, and you don't have that fear of, like, "Hey, Johnny, someone's on the website, and they wanna talk to sales, and you're not there." Like, she's on it, so that's pretty incredible. How do you think about AI SDRs with regards to the outbound or the sales funnel? Because we've been very much talking about kind of the marketing funnel. What does
Yeah,
that
we're
world
talking
look
about the
like?
marketing funnel, but naturally, when you say AI SDRs, some people call SDRs like their outbound team as well. And those products are getting better and better and better overnight. I think some people had initially like a bad reaction to some of them in the earliest days. But I can tell you, for example, at our company, we have hired an SDR from another, it's not ourselves, from another vendor. And currently in Q4, that AI SDR is at the top of the leaderboard. So like these things are evolving so fast.
Mhm. And another question for you that I have is, going back to the marketing funnel, and we're talking about the ability to work all ICP leads, what does that mean for a marketer's tech stack in 2025? Do you still need marketing automation? How does that kind of fit into the process?
It's all moving. So yes, right now in 2025, sure, you still need your marketing automation platform. Like marketing automation platforms have emerged as like this central place. It's a central repository for leads, the central place you go to run campaign reports and stuff like that. But over the course of time, I don't think so. I really don't think marketing automation platforms are going to be as necessary in the future as they have been in the past. Maybe we're at that turning point where right now, when you're doing 2025 planning, you're not going to throw away your marketing automation platform. But this time next year, you might actually, because they're rooted in this traditional funnel. In fact, the marketing automation platforms are the ones that created this traditional funnel. So you have to ask yourself, if we are moving into a new AI marketing funnel, what does your tech stack need to be?
And I think related to that is like, what are the metrics that matter in this new AI marketing funnel? If the old traditional funnel is about MQLs and marketing automation, and this new AI funnel is about working all ICP leads and having AI SDRs, like what do I go to my board meeting and report on? What is that dashboard gauge that I bring up in every marketing meeting? What should I be holding myself accountable for and all the marketing leaders who are here accountable for?
Look, we talked about why CMOs and VPs of marketing report on MQLs. It's the end of the process that they control. So they're like, beyond that, like, what am I supposed to do? Because this is where I stop, the MQL. But there's never been a sales organization who hasn't like rolled their eyes when the CMO says MQL. Like no one cares. No one else in the business cares about the number of MQLs you generated. No one. The CRO doesn't care. The CEO doesn't care. The CFO doesn't care. No one cares. The only thing that our teams care about is pipeline, qualified pipeline. So I think the benefit of this new AI marketing funnel is it removes that like intermediary step, and it says like, hey CMO, hey VP of marketing, in 2025 when you're doing your 2025 planning, get rid of MQL. Only say pipeline, qualified pipeline. The qualified pipeline metric at your company, you might call it stage 1 pipeline or stage 2 or whatever you call it. Make that the measurement for the CMO and get rid of the MQL.
Well, I think it's going to elevate CMOs in the boardroom or at their exec meetings because they're that much closer to revenue and to booked business. The reason I'm excited about the AI SDR is it's an SDR that works for me 24/7. Like I suddenly feel like I have access to someone who can generate pipeline for me with all of the things we're doing from a marketing perspective. So
Yeah, finally the CMO is in control of the marketing funnel. Imagine that.
yeah, it's a good feeling. Okay, Craig. Well, I'm super excited. Thank you for sharing your perspective on this new AI marketing funnel. I think this is where we're all going, and I think as marketers, we've all been so comfortable with this old funnel for a while, but it's exciting that something new has emerged and AI is transforming and AI SDRs can work for us. Any final thoughts as we wrap?
This is business transformation, right? And so for every organization, it's not going to happen overnight. There are hundreds of companies that are already in their transition phase to the new AI marketing funnel. And there are hundreds of companies that haven't yet started. But 2025 is the year. 25 is the year where we're going to see this flip. So for every single CMO or VP of marketing that's out there and is looking at this, if you say, look, like I'm stuck in the old way. I'm measuring MQLs. I have human SDRs following up with all my leads. Like you have to have a plan to move to the new AI marketing funnel because this is what everybody is doing. So don't get left behind. 2025 is the year to make it happen.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Greg.
Thanks.